This is Brent, president of B2C Fitness, and today we're doing one of my favorite strength training exercises, the bench press. That's right, we're here in the studio doing chest on a Sunday, knowing full and well that Monday is National Chest Day. Anyway, this is one of our relatively stable chest exercises. Now, I'm not talking for necessarily a novice individual. A novice individual is still going to find the bench press to be fairly unstable. But for most of us, this is going to be in that strength or max strength portion of our periodized program, and we're going to use a slightly lower rep range. I'm going to have my friend Laura come out to help me demonstrate some of the cueing and some little pointers to help you guys improve upon your bench press. Now, first things first, the most awkward part of a bench is actually the lift-off. That puts the shoulder in kind of a weird position where we have a fairly large amount of load over the face. It's not directly over the shoulder, scapula, thoracic region, so it's a little harder to stabilize. It is always a good idea to have a spotter. We want to make sure that when she sets herself up, she doesn't set her chest under the bar, because that might lead to us tagging these hooks that are holding this bench up. So usually I tell people to get their eyes level with the bar so that when they pull the bar over their chest, they have plenty of clearance room here. So I'm going to have Laura go ahead and set up, grab the bar where she's comfortable. Comfortable should be a place where when you're at the bottom, throughout the majority of your motion, your forearm is perpendicular, all right, straight up and down to the floor. All right, so I'm going to help Laura off. I'm going to give her a little count off. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to have you push off. Good. I'm then going to make sure that I align her so that she is over her chest. This is particularly important for people who haven't done bench before. I don't want her directly over her shoulder. I want her more like across, not to be vulgar, but across nipple line. All right, so just a little lower than chest height. That'll help keep us from any sort of impingement that may occur in the shoulder. She's going to go ahead and lower down to wherever she's comfortable and then press right back up. I hear a lot of people talk about range of motion with the bench. Your range of motion is the largest range of motion that you can keep optimal form, and that is pain-free. So Laura, let's go ahead and show them that one more time. Good. Now let's talk about stabilization. I want her protracting as far as she can at the top. All right, so she's really pushing off. What protracting does is allow your scapula to tip up this way, and that gives some bony support to the humerus, which is applying pressure this way. I know some people have cued retraction in a bench that allows for no bony support from that humerus that is pushing straight down. All right, so once again, go ahead and drop down, push up, protract all the way. Now, I have heard some people talk of a stability progression where they put their feet up on the bench, or they put their feet up on the bench to try to protect their back. If you find that you feel more comfortable putting your feet up on the bench, it is probably a good idea to stretch your hip flexors and start working on some glute activation. Putting your feet up on the bench is not necessarily a fix-all for somebody with lower back discomfort. Besides, there's another benefit to keeping your feet on the floor. If Laura has her feet on the floor, I can make her kinetic chain far more stable, which should contribute to better bench performance. I'm going to have her push her feet through the ground. By pushing her feet through the ground, this is going to activate her glute max, which is a hip extensor, but also one of the primary stabilizers for my lumbopelvic hip complex. If she has her glutes tight, and I then ask her to draw in, her lumbar spine now has something stable, being her pelvis, to rely on. If her spine is stable, her scapula will be more stable. All right, so now we have glute, lumbopelvic hip complex to spine to scapulothoracic stability to hopefully, go ahead and show us one more time, glutes tight, push, a nice strong bench. I know, like I said guys, some people feel more comfortable with their feet up. Have them stretch their hip flexors and activate their glutes and see if you can't turn that around. I have also seen this as a stability progression. It is more unstable to put your feet up. I have personally kind of backed away from that because I would rather reinforce optimal stabilization mechanics throughout my kinetic chain. Now the last thing I might hint on is breathing. This is one of those exercises where people hold their breath, and that's not totally inappropriate. As long as they don't hold their breath for an entire set. All right? So what I usually have people do is breathe in on the way down. If they need to hold their breath as they're turning force around, so they went from eccentric and now they're going to concentric, that's the hard part, that's okay. But then breathe out either on the way up or at the top of the movement. So have them breathe in, get nice and stable, hold, push, good. If that's comfortable, great. What I do see more often than not is people tend to over-cue breathing. You don't need to get into all that breathing mechanics if somebody's breathing naturally. Only cue those mechanics if you see somebody who's turning red and holding their breath for an entire set. Now, I hope you guys can also see this nice line that she's got going on here. Go ahead and drop down and back up. And then when we rack it, once again, you want a nice spotter there to make sure that she doesn't miss the rack and catch her face on the way down. I'm going to have her just put this back. I'm going to help lead her through it. Now, last but not least, this is a dangerous exercise to do without a spotter if you're going to risk and do heavier weights. Obviously, this is a weight that Laura is very comfortable with, which allowed me to kind of walk around, which allowed me to cue her through all of this movement, which allowed me to create this educational video. If we were doing, let's say, a heavy day, I would not be standing over here. I would be cueing her in between sets, giving her verbal cues from this position, and let's just show them one more time. I would make sure that she is 1, 2, 3, that I have my hands underneath this bar, and that I am assuming, go ahead and go down, I am following her through a good squat, so that if she gets in trouble, I can lift this bar, or at least help her lift this bar off her chest. Problem with bench, unlike a lot of other exercises, you can't drop the weight and get it out of your way. So there you go, guys. Stable kinetic chain. Make sure you watch your line, protract through the top. Safety first. Make sure you get a spotter when you need one. I hope you guys enjoy this chest exercise, even though we did this video on a Sunday. Had a lot of fun making it. I'll talk with you guys soon. Good?